never happen. Because Irving Azoff has planted that seed so many times.
Yeah. Totally.
So,
Irving's no dope. Let me tell you something. Irving knows what he's doing because he's doing it from a business standpoint, from a ticket standpoint. The bottom line is you got to provide a value ticket. Just like you have said, and I've heard you say this before. Now, when you get Dave to open up his wallet and take out $1, that's like a miracle. He's my barometer. So, like when I said to Dave, remember when we talked about, it was like a few podcasts ago, Extreme with Mr. Big, and you're like, oh, I'll go see that. It's that reaction that the promoters want. They want you to say, oh, nope, I'm not missing that show. Maybe you've been in your house and you haven't seen a show in 8 months, but when that ticket goes on sale, I'm buying that. Now, that recently happened with Journey and Def Leppard. Those two went out on tour this summer, made a killing. A killing. These guys are headlining Madison Square Garden, sold out. And,
wow.
Absolutely. And people were loving it. They had a solid hit pack set from Journey, a solid hit pack set from Def Leppard. You figure, well, Howard Journey and Def Leppard, they're both, basically melodic rock bands in a way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's not the first time they've done that double bill either.
No, I know. But I'm just saying, this really, really worked. And the promoters are smart about it. They know how to package tours. Now, sometimes, you got to go through muck to get these guys to get to a table and agree on something.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's...
Right.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you something. I forget the name of the damn company that put Motley together. Those guys, what they went through to pull that off was unbelievable. It really was. It was unbelievable. They went through hell and high water to get that thing going, and they made that a really successful tour. And under duress, they really did. So anyway, back to Van Halen news. Derek Sherinian, who is the keyboardist for Sons of Apollo, he's also a former keyboardist of Dream Theater, and he has played with Billy Idol and all kinds of different people. This guy's talented beyond talented. He's an unbelievable keyboardist. He performed a keyboard solo at the Sons of Apollo gig in London, England, where he played Eruption on the keyboard while circling around the instrument. This is a video on his Facebook page. His name is Derek Sherinian. Check it out. This is an incredible moment that you gotta see. It really is something else, Dave. Have you checked that out?
I have not, but that guy is way mucho talented.
Oh, he's crazy.
I love his work with Black Country Communion, another band.
Right.
He's been involved in. Yeah, that guy, his pinky finger alone, it's unbelievable how good he is.
Right. It's unbelievable. Definitely, and Sons of Apollo, can't suggest that album enough. Unbelievable album. All those guys in that band love Van Halen. They're all Van Halen fans. We talked about that before. I went to that show, and they were playing Van Halen songs all over the place. Also want to mention that Talk is Jericho, a podcast led by wrestling icon Chris Jericho. They recently did a 1984 versus 5150 episode with the band Steel Panther in it. It was interesting how they really went back and forth between the two, and they were comparing them like they were side by side the same value. I mean, I personally think there's no comparison. I think one's a legendary album, and the other one's a really fun, successful pop rock album from the 80s. But if you want to check that out, it's definitely a great podcast to hear. Chris Jericho does a great job. It was, I think, the October 3rd podcast. If you want to check that out, that's definitely another Van Halen thing to sink your teeth into. Michael Anthony is in the news a little bit here. It's about time Mike gets in some news. And Michael Anthony recently collaborated with Cheap Trick vocalist Robin Zander. The two Rock and Roll Hall of Famers sang on a new song by the gothic rock supergroup Beauty in Chaos, which was created by LA guitarist Michael Ciravallo. And the song is called Drifting Away and will appear on the band's debut album, Finding Beauty in Chaos, which came out late last month, September 28th. So check that out. It is called Drifting Away. Michael singing back up with Robin Zander. That should be interesting. What do you think about that, Dave?
Unusual guest appearance from Mikey, right?
So, absolutely.
I haven't heard that yet, so I'm curious to hear it.
Sure. Also in Mikey news, Michael Anthony was featured in MotorTrend.com about his fleet of cars. He's identified as the Chickenfoot bassist, which is funny because I always think of him as the Van Halen bassist, regardless.
Yeah, I did notice there was no reference to Van Halen, which I thought was ridiculous. Okay.
I know. It's featuring his Mercedes AMG GL63. He describes himself as a Mercedes guy, but he also has a 1933 Ford Roadster, a 1940 Ford convertible, a 2005 Ford GT, a 1957 Chevy Nomad, and also a 1969 Porsche 911, which he noted it was his first rock star car. That's kind of fun, and Michael seems very excited in the photos with his hands in the air as if someone's paying attention to me. So he's very excited there. And there is some Van Halen merch out there to purchase, and it's not official. None of it's official, but we will let you know about it anyway. There is a 3 CD set of live radio broadcasts of Van Halen material coming out called Transmission Impossible. And the set will be released on November 9th. The first disc will feature a live show from Tokyo, Japan from 1978. The second disc will focus on a Dallas, Texas show from 1982. And the third disc, to make a quick left turn, is a David Lee Roth solo show from the House of Blues from 1994, which ties in to what Dave says later in our discussion about the Your Filthy Little Mouth. That's the live show that Dave refers to in our later discussion. Dave talks about a live show from the House of Blues that we searched for a long time. This was a radio broadcast. I want to say something. I love these CDs, these radio broadcast CDs. I don't know how they're getting away with doing this legally.
I think they're coming out of Europe, and there was some copyright law change or decision in the courts or something like that. So I think what you can do now is any radio show that's 25 years or older is fair game for anyone to release.
Wow.
So something like that. I mean, I'm sure somebody out there will correct me, and we'll talk about that on the next podcast.
Yeah.
But there's been something out there like that. So that is why you are seeing this flood.
Yeah.
You know, and now it's streaming all over the place now too, because that's
know.
just the way it is. But it gives you the opportunity to hear this stuff.
Yeah.
I think a lot of that stuff has already been released on bootleg.
Right,
over
no,
the
that's
years.
true.
So,
that's true.
But yeah, it's nice to see it out there and keep going and getting some live shows.
And it's a pretty affordable price. You can get it for like $18 and change. You get these 3 shows. And let me tell you something, that Dave show is worth having. That's Terry playing guitar on there. That's a nice show.
Is that Terry, or is that
right early on in the tour?
Was it Terry on? Well, remember, Terry started the tour, but then he got replaced by Rocket Richaud. So I'm not sure who it is playing on that show.
I think it's Terry did, because that was an early show in the tour.
Oh, was it? Well, if that's the case, then it is Terry.
That was like when the album first came out. If you look at the set list, they're doing all these songs from that album on there.
Oh, okay. All right, then it's okay.
I do believe. Now, another thing, this has been sort of murky in the waters for a while. There's this book called Eruption by Paul Brannigan, which he's the author of the Dave Grohl book, This Is the Call, and Metallica, Birth, School, Death, and there's this book. It's an Eddie Van Halen biography, but it's been floating around for a while, and no one knows what's happening with this thing. They say it's been acquired by Faber and Faber, but then I contacted Faber and Faber, and they said they're not doing it. But I'm finding it that DeCapo Press was doing it, and then I got in touch with them, and they told me that the project has been canceled. So I don't know what is going on with this. Paul, if you're out there, contact us, because I've been trying to get in touch with you. This book has been on the schedule, bouncing around since 2015. So it's been around for a while. I don't know what is happening with this. I don't know if it's written, what's happening, but it was on Amazon for a while. I tried to order it. It got canceled. It never showed. I got my money back. I went through all kinds of all around the mulberry bush with this thing. So we'll see what happens. However, there is a new Van Halen book that's actually happening. It's called Unchained, a Van Halen user manual, and this is by Martin Popoff. Martin has written all kinds of great rock and roll books, Motley Crue and all kinds of ones. This is not his typical book formation. It's broken into various segments that includes all the eras. He's like top 20 Alex moments, the analysis of the US Festival, covers by Van Halen during the club days, a full Van Halen timeline, top 20 rarities, a spotlight on the Sam and Dave tour. And it sounds really cool. It's coming out in December. You can order it for $36 on martinpopoff.com, and that's martinpopoff.com. And he'll even sign it for you. So that's kind of cool. And that is what we have for Van Halen news. And we are on to our next segment, which is we have another full mailbag, Dave. Lots of mailbag coming up, followed by our deep dive discussion on Your Filthy Little Mouth, a 1994 solo album from David Lee Roth, his last on the Warner Brothers label before things went awry. I have an interview, a short interview, but it's still a nice one with the producer, Nile Rodgers. Then Dave and I do a full interview with the guitarist for the album, Terry Kilgore, Dave's old pal from back in the day, who he reached back and grabbed him from obscurity and brought him into the spotlight for his 1994 album, Your Filthy Little Mouth. They wrote together, he played on the album, he went on the tour, and then things went awry. And he talks about everything in that interview, and that's all coming up. Take a listen.
Some of these rock bands are getting up there, huh? Anybody get out and see the Rip Van Halen tour last year? Want to see David Lee Roth do one of those Van Damme leg splits now, huh? Knock his nads up through his gullet like he's picking that night's Powerball numbers or something.
If you need a dose of VH, get a taste of the closest thing. Romeo Delight, the ultimate Van Halen tribute band, playing all the hits from the David Lee Roth era, first classic 6 albums, plus deep cuts, some of which have never been played live before by the band. They even throw in popular tracks from the Sammy Hagar era and solo hits. The most viewed Van Halen tribute band on YouTube, Romeo Delight, doing customized recreations of staging, instruments, and costumes from the classic Van Halen era. They even perform entire Van Halen albums in sequence. Romeo Delight plays theaters, casinos, summer indoor and outdoor festivals, and special events. They're also available for private parties. To contact them, call Bud Blanche at 215-704-5144. That's 215-704-5144. Or via email at sonicparade1@yahoo.com. Romeo Delight, the ultimate Van Halen tribute band.
This is Rock'em Sock'em Diamond David Lee Roth here, live in front of your naked steaming ears, and you're listening to Dave and Dave Unchained, baby.
Pick up the top seller, Van Halen Rising, How a Southern California Backyard Party Band Save Heavy Metal, the new book by Greg Renoff. Learn about the early history of one of America's most decorated rock bands. Renoff goes deep into the Pasadena roots of the Van Halen brothers, David Lee Roth and Michael Anthony. Go to vanhalenrising.com, where you can get autographed copies of the book, t-shirts, guitar picks, beer koozies, and more. vanhalenrising.com. Also available at amazon.com.
Trump becoming president because Obama made fun of him, that would be like, imagine if the head of linguistics at Rutgers made fun of David Lee Roth. And then David Lee Roth is like, I'm going to take your job, zibbly bobbly boop. And then he spends a year and all this money, gets the job, goes cartwheeling into the linguistics department. Yeah, head of linguistics, everybody, Diamond Dave. Bring out the coke and the hookers. And then the guy's like, oh no, we're going to be talking about the lack of recursion in 16th century Germanic poetry. And Dave's like, Humbly bibbly zibbly bubbly hum bibbly. No? Nothing? That's not how. Okay, that's fine.
All right, Dave, you know what time it is.
Mailbag. Bag of mail.
And he's back! Yes! And it is Mailbag